So, after going over the vector brushes and the in-class assignment, we need to look at the homework that goes with it, and it's something called designing icons or design icons. And it's basically a chance to create 5 icons that go together but are not exactly the same. And I'm going to show you an example to start off so you know like what the heck I'm talking about. Right? So designing things, I believe I have a sort of generic, there we go. So these are 5 web icons for very recognizable things. Sometimes people give me, start, stop, and record buttons. They can be almost anything. But the idea is that they go together even if they don't look identical. Right? So the assignment is about creating 5 things that belong to a group and have consistency. So we're using our drawing tools, we're using vector brushes, shape tools, whatever drawing tools you want. But we want we want consistency, and we want to show control over what you're doing. So for example, here we go. So this is a nice take on the social media buttons. Because of how it works in real life, you can actually find these icons online at their websites. Twitter doesn't want you using some fake mishmash bird that you made yourself. They want you using theirs. So this person got those icons, but then they also used a bit of clip art and a whole lot of filters. If you're using borrowed artwork, if you're using things that you get from online, you have to make sure you're doing a lot with them. So this particular person has a lot of different effects and gradients going on. We've got glows and drop shadows all over everything, and tints, and just all sorts of stuff. But what you'll also notice about these is that they're consistent, except for this one being not lined up properly, but they're all the same size, they're all the same shape, and they all have the same effects work on them. And then the difference is the color and then what they are made for, right? And the colors are taken from what those companies use as their colors, right? Here's another thing I get all the time, buttons from controllers, PlayStation or Xbox. It changes every year. Again, they're not designing this themselves, but these are really nicely made. There's a lot going on here. There's a lot of use with the filters. I keep calling them effects. They're filters, technically. There's a lot of filter work. There's a lot of work done with individual drawing pieces and gradients within those drawing pieces. So we're getting this sort of look right here by having a gradient on that circle, which was put underneath this circle, which has a radial gradient, which is why you have it lighter over here and darker over here. And same with this. So it's basically 3 circles with a radial gradient, and the result is that it looks like this rounded object, right? They don't have to be for anything in particular. Sometimes people just want to draw some cool icons. It's sort of like from a made-up science game that doesn't exist, right? It's not, but the drawing is really, really nice. Let me see here. Sorry, there we go, their interior. So they just spent a lot of time drawing with vectors in this program in order to get these shapes. And again, they all have the same drawing quality, so they all look like they belong together. Here's something as if for an RPG. And I want to point out that no one is redrawing everything 5 times. The drawings in the center of these are in fact different drawings. But if we look at the outside, first of all, this is a vector brush. They didn't draw this, they found the vector brush that worked for them, combined it with this circle underneath, then circle on top, right? There's a few different pieces going on in there. Let me see if I can double click. Here we go. So if we go into these, remember we also have to keep in mind all of the things we've been learning about symbols and combining things into objects, things like that. That's how they're able to keep track of this. But this is separate from this, right? So we've got a couple of circles that they've sort of combined. And then if we double click again, this is a vector brush. And this is a couple of, whoops. There we go. There's the vector brush, and then there's the outside of the circle. And when they combine all that, it looks like some very complicated design, but it's a lot of simple pieces all brought together. And then what they did was they made it once, and then they copied and pasted it 4 other times, and they changed the color. Same thing here. Copy and paste it a bunch of times, change the color. Same with this, they just changed the icon that's on top. So you can do stuff like that in order to maintain consistency. Now, you don't have to have all of them be identical throughout, as long as they look like they go together. So these are meant to be like, you know, you're online and you've designed some little icons for people to use to know where to upload, download. And so this person paired, you know, these two go together. Log in, log out, go together. Sign up, you want a little bit bigger, right? So there's a logic behind why this is different than these two is different from these two, but they still, the pairs go together very well, and there's still a consistency. There's a consistency of you know, color palette. There's a consistency of typeface. There's a consistency of these little scratchy marks underneath. It's stuff like that, or these icons right here that are in the corners that aren't identical certainly, but they look like they're drawn by the same hand. All right. Again, just 5 different, you know, email, charging. These almost look like they could be on your phone. And they're different from one another. They have different colors, but they still look like they're designed for the same ecosystem. And that's what you want to go for. You want to go for a consistency in terms of shape and design. You want control over the shape and design, which is why we're doing a set of 5. Don't use the download button from the book, please. You can make download buttons that don't look identical to that, even if you just take inspiration from how it's drawn, but that was just for learning purposes, right? So you'll see none of these look like any of the things out of the book, even though they're using vector brushes, even though they're download buttons, even though they're, you know, the white drawing on a, you know, flatter circle surface. These are all different, right? So you want to get 5 that look like they belong together. And then it's worth, you know, decent amount for a homework assignment. Put them all in the same file, please. Please put them all in the same file, and make sure you're staying organized. So here we go. These are all on different folders. These are all on different layers. You know, everyone's going to have theirs organized differently, but as long as random person like me can just go in there and look and see, oh, this is all this, it belongs on this layer. That's what we're looking for, right? We're looking for a consistency and a clarity. All right.